Part 7. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 62. The wait is finally here. During this trip, Nai Chen specially selected an auction conference with a lot of right and wrong just to wait for this opportunity. Originally, he planned to pick out a few relatively strong, wealthy, and stupid buyers, take them out and beat them up. But now that the system actively releases tasks, things are much easier to handle. As long as you snatch the treasure in the box, you can not only clear the system, but also get a treasure for free. At this moment, there was silence in the venue. Is she crazy? No matter how precious the contents of the box are, they are not worth 10,000 spirit stones. As expected of the saint's sister, she is really too wealthy. Although many forces originally planned to spend a lot of money to take the last blind box, but faced with a price of 10,000, they could only watch, and no one dared to follow the price. 10,000 spirit stones once. 10,000 spirit stones twice. 10,000 spirit stones. 12,000 spirit stones. Before Miao Miajin could finish her voice, Nai Chen's voice suddenly sounded from the corner. There was silence in the venue for a moment, and then everyone looked at the corner where the sound came from in shock. Not only are they curious about who can afford such a price, but also because raising the price now would be equivalent to openly challenging Yao Menjiun. Which force dared to offend that unruly young lady? But after seeing Nai Chen's appearance clearly, everyone was stunned at the same time. They had never seen such a person before. Could it be that he is a descendant of some hidden family? But this person seemed to come alone, and it was completely impossible to tell what kind of power was hidden behind him. Yao Menjiun also frowned slightly and looked at Nai Chen, with a bit of dissatisfaction in his expression. 14,000 spirit stones. She raised the price again. Nai Chen's voice continued, 15,000 spirit stones. 16,000. 17,000. Yao Menjiun's body exuded a looming cold air, and his eyes when he looked at Nai Chen were extremely cold. She bit her silver teeth and said, 18,000. 30,000. Nai Chen shouted calmly. Hey! The crisp sound of drawing a sword sounded, and this time, Yao Menjiun couldn't bear it anymore. The long sword glowing with light blue coldness was unsheathed, and her eyes looking at Nai Chen exuded a bone-chilling chill. What on earth do you mean? It's an auction, doesn't it go to the highest bidder? Everyone present is a representative of all the major sections. Can the price offered be higher than mine? Nai Chen smiled and then loudly said. 40,000 spiritual stones. 50,000 spiritual stones. Brush. In an instant, a sword energy passed by. Although Nai Chen dodged it, the cold sword energy cut down, but directly cut a huge crack in the wall. What on earth are you here for? If you don't have a satisfactory reason, don't blame me for killing you. Yao Menjiun's whole body was exuding a deep chill, and the looming murderous aura could no longer be concealed. I only have two things to do here. One is to grab the magic weapon, and the other is to beat the genius. Nai Chen slowly stood up. How brave, we have experts in charge of the Yundu auction house, and now even Miss Yao Menjiun is here. You little brat, you still want to do evil here? Miao Miaoun angrily scolded. My forged underwear and the magic weapon used for auction are also from erroneous origins. Since everyone is not a good person, there should be no problem in taking advantage of others. Nai Chen put his hands on his face, and streams of spiritual energy poured in, and the appearance of the disguise technique was gradually dissolved. Many eyes were fixed on Nai Chen, wanting to see who had the guts to be so provocative. But when Nai Chen's true appearance was revealed, there was silence. Everyone was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say for a moment. Isn't this appearance the same as Nai Chen who became famous after a battle in the tomb of the three emperors? Why is Nai Chen here? It's over, this time it's a big deal. Miao Miaoan and everyone at the Yundu auction venue were all shocked. They naturally knew how serious the consequences would be if they forged Nai Chen's underwear and put them up for auction. Don't even think about running away. We haven't even settled the accounts just yet. Nai Chen laughed evilly, took a step forward, and turned into an elusive shadow. He did not go directly to grab the treasure chest, but started an indiscriminate attack directly in the venue. You just offered 500 spirit stones to buy my underwear? Who are you looking down on for such a small amount of money? You just said that Nai Chen is just average looking and not as handsome as you. You're the one who said you wanted to betroth your daughter to Nai Chen? He, father-in-law, we can discuss this matter in detail later. Although the people in the auction house were quite capable, they couldn't stand up to Nai Chen's cultivation and foundation, and he was protected by Empress Qingyu behind him. Almost no one can fight back. Bang, bang, bang. As Nai Chen landed a punch, the wails continued one after another. I was wrong, I never dare again. Grandpa Nai Chen, please let me go. Especially the one who claimed that he was more handsome than Nai Chen had been beaten until his nose was bruised and his face was as swollen as a pig's head. Even if he recovers, his facial features will probably be half crooked. At this moment, as if they wanted to seize the opportunity of Nai Chen's clone, several experts hired by the auction quickly rushed to the stage and wanted to take away the last exquisite wooden box. The treasures in the wooden box are extremely precious. If they are really stolen, the Yundu auction house will suffer a huge loss. Stop. But just as the three of them picked up the wooden box, they found that Nai Chen had already blocked them. Boy, although you are also in the Xianyuan realm, you don't think you can defeat the three of us alone. Even if you are afraid of Queen Qingyu, if you are pushed to the edge, don't blame us for killing you. Nai Chen, are you sure? Bang, bang, bang. It's a pity that this auction house looks powerful, but the strength of the few thugs invited here is really not very good. With the superficial realm of these people, they were easily knocked down by Nai Chen in just a few moves. Destroy the Dao heart of 3 Xianyuan realm monks, skill point add 1. Good guy, it's really worthless. Nai Chen had expected it, so he had to snatch the wooden box from them. After removing the 2 locks on the wooden box, Nai Chen was about to open it, but he felt a chill behind him. The one walking towards him was Yao Menjiun from the Flower Holy Land. Nai Chen smiled, look at the girl's posture, it seems that you want to fight with me. Yes, I have been annoyed with you for a long time. Yao Menjiun's voice was cold, and a cold light flashed on the sword. What a coincidence, I am too. Nai Chen threw the wooden box on the ground casually, and his fighting spirit was high. The more talented the son of the genius, the more he liked him. Yao Menjiun frowned slightly. In the past, people only felt fear when they saw her. But she clearly felt something was wrong with Nai Chen. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 63. Yao Menjiun suddenly attacked, and the sword energy slashed through, although Nai Chen easily dodged it. But in an instant, a faint illusion appeared behind her. That is, the holy image of 10,000 flowers. In an instant, the 4 seats were shocked. Generally speaking, the Dharma image can only be created by the strongest among the cultivators in the sea-breaking realm. But there are different examples. For those ancient and mysterious holy places, there is a holy image to protect their descendants. The best in the holy places, if their strength reaches a certain level, may also summon the virtual image guarding the holy place. The virtual image of 10,000 flowers appeared behind Yao Menjiun. Although the image was a little illusory, the power was far less than the power that could be exerted by the real Dharma image. But in Tianyuan city, it has enough power to destroy half of the city. Run. All those who could move fled in all directions and hurriedly fled the venue. Miao Miaoan looked at the wooden box behind Nai Chen with hatred, but she didn't dare to grab it again, so she had to flee with the crowd. In the huge underground space, except for the monk who was beaten to the ground, there were only Nai Chen and Yao Menjiun. The illusion was floating, and Yao Menjiun exuded a majestic aura. The breeze blew gently, and the next moment, the illusion of thousands of flowers behind her began to condense and transform, evolving into various forms. There were giant flowers as tall as monsters, vines that turned into tentacles, and even a group of human-shaped armies. I heard that you showed your skills in the tomb of the 3 emperors and defeated countless strong men? Let me meet you. As Yao Menjiun's voice fell, the virtual images of flowers and plants condensed into human shapes all held weapons and rushed towards Nai Chen. However, the leading flower and grass general had just landed on the ground. Nai Chen's arms were surrounded by golden light, and his whole body exuded an extremely mysterious and profound aura. In an instant, his body was violent and extremely swift. The phantom transformed from flowers and plants quickly chopped it with a weapon, but it was completely unable to match Nai Chen's speed. With the first palm, Nai Chen directly grabbed its head. The figure of the soldier's phantom looked extremely strong, but it was firmly held. Even if it struggled desperately, it could not break free. The second punch directly pierced its chest. The leading phantom of flowers and plants collapsed, and the surging phantom army behind it had not yet reached the ground. Nai Chen clenched his fist in the air, and in the void, a small flame suddenly grew and expanded, emitting a scorching and boiling high temperature. The space seemed to be distorted at this moment. Boom! The fireball flew out and expanded to an unknown number of times in a blink of an eye. The phantoms in the sky instantly burned, and the slightly holy golden flames burned fiercely. It seemed to have turned into a surging giant beast, constantly devouring and evolving. The fire burned fiercely, and Yao Menjiun's body was suddenly swept out by the air wave, almost falling to the ground. She had never suffered such a setback. The burn marks left on her dress were enough to prove the threat of the sea of fire. Yao Menjiun's eyes became colder, and the spiritual energy and murderous intent on her body continued to emerge. However, Nai Chen did not leave her any room to react. A residual image flashed by, and Nai Chen's figure seemed to disappear on the ground, and attacked her at a very fast speed. In the sea of fire, a green armor suddenly flew out and merged into Yao Menjiun's body. In an instant, Yao Menjiun also burst out at a speed far beyond what he had just experienced. In the diffuse sea of fire and virtual images, the figures of the two flashed continuously. Every time they collided, there would be a loud collision sound. And it emitted a series of fierce afterwaves, which continued to attack the surroundings. Bang! When Nai Chen's fist covered with golden light collided with the sword in Yao Menjiun's hand again. The burst of air waves could not be suppressed at all, sweeping the entire underground space. Although this place had been reinforced by formations and other means, it could not withstand such an attack at all. Bang! Amidst the earth-shattering roar, the ground suddenly collapsed. The walls of the underground space also bent and shattered, crumbling and disintegrating like a block of soil. As the boulder fell, Yao Menjiun's pupils shrank slightly, and she quickly used the force to jump into the air. However, when she reached the moment in the air, Nai Chen's figure suddenly broke through the sea of fire and attacked suddenly. This time, even Yao Menjiun could not maintain her peace of mind. With no foothold in front and behind, the one who a holy elephant was restricted by space and surrounded by the sea of fire, and could not exert its full strength. Her situation was already extremely critical. In the sea of fire, a fist wrapped in flames and golden light smashed fiercely. Emerald green phantoms poured into Yao Menjiun's body and sword one after another, and the green light covered the sword body, constantly emitting spiritual energy. Yao Menjiun held the sword across her chest, trying to take the blow head-on. However, when the fist fell, she found that she had thought too simply. The power of this punch was far beyond her imagination. The extremely powerful force seemed to be enough to lift a huge stone weighing 10,000 pounds, and it was even more like a raging river beast, extremely brutal. This punch was mixed with an unstoppable momentum. Even with the help of the phantom, Yao Menjiun was completely unable to block this blow. The strong wind swept across, and her slender figure was directly blown away. Like a kite with a broken string, fortunately with the protection of the phantom, Yao Menjiun could barely stand up even if her body fell heavily to the ground. Is this the feeling of defeat? For a long time, Yao Menjiun could almost win by crushing any opponent among her peers. But facing Nai Chen, she found herself so weak and powerless. But even so, the Holy Land and her pride made her unwilling to admit defeat. The sword light was strong, and the virtual image of thousands of flowers soaring into the sky appeared behind Yao Menjiun again. The powerful spiritual energy that suddenly burst out even blew Nai Chen away for dozens of meters. Nai Chen, you are indeed stronger than I thought. But don't think you can beat me like this. The Holy Land blesses you, and thousands of flowers come to you. The emerald green light spread all around in an instant, and only a phoenix cry was heard in the sky. In the endless vortex of spiritual energy, the virtual image of thousands of flowers evolved and transformed into a phoenix. Although this phoenix is far less majestic than the one depicted in the divine paintings and drawings, the emerald green light seems unable to show its true power. But the sense of oppression it exudes is far beyond the reach of any Xianyuan realm. In that case, let's try this new sword my wife gave me. Nai Chen drew out the Nirvana Phoenix given to him by Empress King Yu. Although the origin of the sword was damaged, when the surging flames appeared on the sword body, it was as if a phoenix was flying in the sky. Phoenix Nirvana, born from fire. When Nai Chen's sword soared into the sky, the majestic flames in the sword energy seemed to be a real phoenix. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 64. Boom. Strong air waves struck all around, and the huge spiritual energy burst out from the collision of the flames, and the phantom of the phoenix rose into the sky. In this completely irresistible wave of air, even though he tried to resist with all his strength, Yao Menjiun was directly thrown away. A large area of his body was burned, and he suffered direct internal injuries. There was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth, and she felt extremely weak. In the light, Nai Chen's figure walked slowly. It's you. Yao Menjiun endured the pain in his body and tried to get up. But she found that the pain had completely prevented her from moving at all. I am the sister of the flower saint, you. Even at this moment, Yao Menjiun still had indifference and arrogance in his eyes. Sister saint? Sorry, I'm not familiar with the flower saint. Moreover, he is not afraid of her at all. Nai Chen leaned down and looked directly into Yao Menjiun's eyes. His eyes glanced at her slightly barren and thin body. What do you want to do? Yao Menjiun stared at Nai Chen angrily. Don't worry, no matter in terms of appearance or figure, you are far from the point where I want to covet you. Nai Chen smiled slightly and raised his fist high. You. Before Yao Menjiun could say the next word, his fist suddenly fell. As the sister of the majestic Blossom Saint, the proud daughter of a prodigy who dominates all major sects with a sword, she felt her cheeks burning. The labor pain hit, and immediately, his vision went dark and he completely lost consciousness. As Yao Menjiun fainted, the 10,000 flowers holy symbol behind her also became more blurred, and finally slowly dissipated. Flames were flying down all over the sky, and occasionally one or two sparks fell on her scarred body, which seemed a bit sad and beautiful. Having a strong impact on the mind of Yao Menjiun in the Flower Holy Land, gaining skill points add 1. Complete the mission, seize the auction treasures, skill points add 4. She is worthy of being praised as a gifted daughter. Even if her Taoist heart is not affected, she can still squeeze out a skill point. If possible, Nai Chen would like to get to know a few more opponents like this. However, he was paying more attention to the wooden box at the moment. What is inside that can fetch a full price of 10,000 spirit stones, and also allow the system to issue a task worth 4 skill points? Sure enough, those guys at the auction house are not good people. Although the wooden box was put up for auction, a defensive array restriction was secretly placed on it. However, this was in vain for Nai Chen. Easily lifting the extremely high-grade restrictions covering the surface, Nai Chen slowly opened the wooden box. Suddenly, a hot breath hit his face. What is contained in the wooden box is a fiery red bead. System, check it. Nai Chen said. Ding, this thing is called Yanghuo Xianfeng Pearl. Attribute, fire. Rarity, extremely rare. Function, on the surface, it is used as a medium to strengthen fire magic, but in fact, few people know that this spirit bead can be used to refine extremely high-level magic weapons. A magical weapon of extremely high quality. Nai Chen immediately thought of the Nirvana Phoenix in his hand that was forcibly chopped into pieces by Empress King Yu. System, can the Black Phoenix Pearl be used to repair this sword? Ding, yes, Yanghuo Xianfeng Pearl has a very strong repairing effect. But the level of Nirvana is too high, and the success rate can only reach 6%. Only 6%? This is a bit difficult to handle. Nai Chen pondered for a long time and suddenly recalled something in his mind. When he first defeated Empress King Yu, the system directly rewarded him with the luck of heaven and earth 10 times. With the blessing of this thing, I'm afraid the success rate can be greatly improved. Nai Chen used the luck of heaven and earth for the first time. Ding, I am blessed by heaven and earth, the success rate reaches 46%. After hearing the system prompt, Nai Chen used it a second time without hesitation. Ding, I am blessed by heaven and earth, the success rate reaches 86%. That's enough. Nai Chen simultaneously suspended the fire-drying Black Phoenix Pearl and the Nirvana Phoenix in the air, and continuously poured spiritual energy into them. The two objects that were originally useless finally reacted under Nai Chen's control and began to slowly gather together. Click. The moment the Yanghuo Xianfeng Pearl came into contact with the blade, a clear ringing sound echoed in the sky. Immediately afterwards, a vision suddenly occurred. Endless fire continuously gushes out from the fire-drying Black Phoenix Pearl. The smooth surface of the bead, which was originally red and could not be seen clearly, actually evolved into phoenix patterns in the flames. The phoenix is lifelike, as if bathed in flames, ready to go. At any time, a high-pitched roar may be heard, and the fire beads may fly out. The flames are continuously injected from the Yanghuo Xianfeng Pearl into the Nirvana. The blade began to become more red and hot, and as time passed, flames began to burn on the Nirvana sword. The two meet in one place. In an instant, the intense red fire illuminated half of the sky. It's like the sound of strings and the sound of bells on the avenue. Accompanied by a long and majestic cry, a fire phoenix suddenly appeared in the sky. Coercion and flames filled the sky. After a long cry, the fire phoenix swooped down and sank directly into the Nirvana sword. In an instant, the Nirvana sword emitted extremely scorching heat. The flames covering it were so pure that even a single flame seemed to contain endless scorching heat. Boom! The golden light was so bright that it seemed to be using all its strength. The highest and loudest phoenix cry ever sounded for the last time. This sacred cry instantly spread like ripples in all directions. In an instant, all the major sects, cultivators, and hidden forces within 1,000 miles were shocked. This sound and breath are signs of a heavenly magic weapon. Heavenly magic weapon. The source of that breath seems to be near Tianyuan City. Who on earth can forge a heavenly magic weapon? A heavenly magic weapon has appeared in the direction of Tianyuan City. Everyone, Follow me quickly. Although it is unknown who forged or got the heavenly magic weapon by chance, no sect will sit idly by. It is better to say that everyone hopes that they can find a loophole. After all, if they can get a heavenly magic weapon, it will very likely pave the way for the entire sect, and even for their own future cultivation. The preciousness of the heaven-grade magical treasure is enough to make people sacrifice their lives and everything. Many forces at the same time ignored everything and headed towards Tianyuan City at full speed. However, just as they approached Tianyuan City, the gathered cultivators suddenly felt that the majestic aura of the heaven-grade magical treasure suddenly disappeared. Moreover, they could not detect even the slightest aura or clues. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 65. Wandeo Sect, why are you here too? Roar. A small Qinglai cave dares to compete for a heavenly magic weapon. Say it again. Many sects arrived in the sky above Tianyuan City one after another. And most of the people who came were elders with extremely high cultivation in the sect. A heavenly magic weapon is a supreme opportunity. If you can get it, it will be a huge improvement for the entire sect. Meeting on a narrow road, some sects that were already tense seemed to be more tense. However, where did the heavenly magic weapon that exuded such a huge sense of oppression just now go? Why did it seem to disappear out of thin air, and there was no breath at all? Many forces were puzzled. There were many masters in this trip, and they did not believe that anything could escape without being noticed in front of them. But suddenly, a breath from a heavenly magic weapon suddenly broke out from the back of Wandeo sect. Then, someone shouted. The heaven-level magic weapon was taken by our Wandeo section, you bunch of trash, do you dare to come and fight? Instantly, many sects were furious at the same time. How dare you embezzle the heaven-level magic weapon in front of the major sects, and even dare to provoke here? Wandeo sect, you must pay the price today. How dare the small Wandeo sect be so rampant here? I heard that the Wandeo sect is not a good thing. It claims to be a big righteous sect. In fact, it oppresses the good and does evil. Today, all our major sects gather together, why not kill them here? Yes. The heaven-level magic weapon is not important. We just want to catch these remnants who have been brainwashed by the demon sect and bring peace to the people of the world. All the major sects were righteous and indignant. They have surrounded the Wandeo sect layer by layer and are ready to take action. The people of the Wandeo sect were completely confused. When did they get the heaven-level magic weapon? Moreover, which ignorant bastard just shouted those words? There is no such person in Wandeo sect at all. Kill. Catch them. Uphold justice and retrieve the heavenly magic weapon. However, the major sects have already rushed over, with swords, and spells bombarding. It didn't take long for Wandeo sect to be defeated and completely unable to resist the many forces. The elders were injured one after another, and the head was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Haha, the heavenly magic weapon was obtained by our Qinglai cave. You bunch of hypocrites with human faces and beasts, come on, if you have the guts, kill us Qinglai cave together. At this moment, the aura of the heavenly magic weapon that had disappeared briefly burst out again. Its source was the direction of the people in Qinglai cave who were killing happily. Qinglai cave. So, the sects, who were red-eyed with killing, rushed towards them again. The heaven-class magic weapon is in our Xianyang sect. Hey, we snatched the heaven-class magic weapon from Toyo Villa, are you angry? That's it? Our Maguang mansion took it and ran away first. The voices of despicable people rang out one after another, and the various sects fought back and forth, and a war broke out completely. In the extremely chaotic battle, people were beaten seriously from time to time and fell to the ground. Even though they had no idea where the heaven-class magic weapon was, the sects that had been killing and had grievances with each other fought more and more fiercely. All means were used, and blood flowed. However, none of them knew. The instigator of the whole thing was on the ground at this moment, searching for treasures on the bodies of the seriously injured monks who fell to the ground one by one. By just enough treasures to fill a space ring, Nai Chen took a last look at the various sects fighting in the sky, smiled slightly, and left. No matter how many people there were, with the help of the invisibility technique, these good-for-nothings could not see through his whereabouts at all. The light flashed behind him, and the shouts of killing shook the sky, but Nai Chen left in a swagger, not caring at all. After an unknown amount of time, he realized that there was no breath of heavenly magic weapons at all, and that all the forces of the sects had suffered great damage. Finally, these sects that were bloodthirsty finally stopped. Looking around, they all looked embarrassed. The Holy Land of Flowers. Looking at the image of her sister Yao Menjiun's bruised face, the Saint of Flowers smiled softly with her pale pink sleeves. "Saint, you." The maid next to her was stunned. In her impression, the Saint of Flowers loved her sister the most. Except for the eldest prince of the Yufeng dynasty, Yao Menjiun had almost defeated all the geniuses of the same generation in the world and had no rivals. But occasionally, if a senior attacked Yao Menjiun, once Saint Fanhua heard the news, she would leave the Holy Land immediately. She even used the Holy Elephant to almost flatten the entire sect of the other party. Therefore, not only Saint Fanhua, but many forces also knew that Saint Fanhua was extremely protective of her sister. No matter how arrogant and unreasonable Yao Menjiun was, no one dared to provoke her, and most of them could only endure being beaten. But now, the situation is a little wrong. Noticing the maid's expression, Saint Fanhua smiled slightly. "It's nothing, Menjiun's temper has indeed been a little arrogant in the past 2 years. It's okay for someone to come forward and teach her a lesson occasionally to make her restrain herself. Besides, Nai Chen." Halfway through, Saint Fanhua shook her head and hesitated. "Let's prepare for the feast in a few days, and talk about other things later." "Yes." The maid didn't dare to say anything and went down quickly. "Nai Chen? King Yu, don't try to hide this from me again this time." Looking at the sky, there is a faint smile on the saintly face of the flower saint. Tianyun Palace. As soon as he approached the high mountain of Tianyun Palace, Nai Chen clearly saw a fiery red hanging on the mountain. Looking upward, there is a fire-like spiritual energy burning in the sky above the continuous mountains. Different from the coldness of the past, Tianyun Palace today seems to be extremely lively and festive. In addition to those red lantern hangings, there are many people lining up respectfully on the mountain, holding all kinds of precious and unusual gifts. Although they were still solemn and respectful, they were also much livelier than before. Nai Chen landed on the ground and found Elder Wang, who was usually on good terms with him, and said doubtfully, "Elder, what is going on?" Elder Wang said with a smile, "The Empress will hold a birthday banquet today, so all major sects, holy places, and dynasties that have long-standing contacts with Tianyun Palace have sent people to send congratulatory gifts. And plans to hold a grand ceremony today to celebrate the Empress's birthday. The Empress actually celebrates her birthday today." Nai Chen was suddenly shocked. He didn't know the news at all. Elder Wang smiled and said, "It's not just you. I have been an elder by the Empress side for so many years, and I don't know when the Empress' birthday is." Nai Chen was confused. What will happen this year? The time of the Empress's birthday was revealed by the flower saint. And the strange thing is that if it were in the past, the Empress would have driven away these people who came to celebrate her birthday without hesitation. But this year the Empress' temperament seemed to be much warmer than before, and she actually didn't refuse. Perhaps the Empress's state of mind is also changing. Elder Wang shook his head, slightly puzzled. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 66. Elder Wang asked curiously, "Nai Chen, I see that you seem to be relatively close to the Empress recently, and you are one of the few disciples who can contact the Empress. You don't know exactly what happened recently, which made the Empress suddenly seem to have undergone a huge change. This. Nai-Chen pondered for a moment and said, maybe it's love. In love. After hearing this, Elder Wang suddenly couldn't help laughing. Haha, you have really rich imagination. I have been an elder for so many years, and I have never heard anyone dare to say such a thing. Although Elder Wang laughed and patted Nai-Chen on the shoulder, as his smile gradually relaxed, his expression became a little serious. However, it's okay to make a joke in private, but don't let the Empress hear such words, otherwise, I'm afraid no one will protect you. Nai-Chen, you don't believe it? Of course I can't believe it. Over the years, it's not like no one has tried to express their feelings to the Empress. But regardless of his cultivation level or his identity, all that was left was his corpse. Well, since Elder Wang doesn't think you have the chance to see the Empress wedding day, when the time is right, I can invite Elder Wang to attend my wedding banquet. Nai-Chen smiled helplessly. Wedding banquet? You mean? Do you think you have someone you like? Elder Wang suddenly widened his eyes and looked a little shocked. Nai-Chen, Elder Wang, there is no need to be excited. I am already 18 years old. Is it normal to have a lover? The problem is, I am still a boy now. Elder Wang seemed a little embarrassed. Nai-Chen, we are different. After being suspicious of life for a while, Elder Wang finally came to his senses. This time, he showed strong interest. Actually, after several of my friends heard about your deeds in the tomb of the three emperors, they wanted to ask me to help propose marriage. I didn't expect you to act so quickly. However, you are also the #1 immortal seedling of Tianyun Palace. Although the Empress doesn't like to talk about love, I have to check it for you to prevent you from being deceived. Nai-Chen's eyes shifted slightly, with a hint of smile in his eyes. Isn't Elder Wang just pretending to be a check on the surface, but actually he wants to learn from me how to pursue Taoist lovers' love skills? This. Instantly, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Elder Wang's face, and his face turned red. Brother Nai-Chen is really insightful. I didn't expect that you would see this. But actually that's not all, that's me. Hey, Elder Wang, don't worry too much. You can't find Taoist companions anywhere. They are just practicing infatuatedly for 400 years and have no interest in discussing matters between men and women. Don't worry, I can tell Elder Wang my love experience. Let you use it as a reference to enrich your own love experience. Nai-Chen interrupted rather boldly. The one who knows me is Nai-Chen. Nai-Chen, from now on, you and I will no longer care about the seniority of elders and disciples. From now on, you will be my good brother. Elder Wang was immediately moved and speechless. His eyes looking at Nai-Chen seemed to be filled with incomparable gratitude. Now the Empress is dealing with the affairs of the people who came to see her. Anyway, you can't meet the Empress for the time being. How about we brothers go to a restaurant and have a drink? Nai-Chen smiled, then let's talk about my love experience while drinking. Good brother, good brother. Elder Wang has never been so moved. Recalling the hot occasion when Nai-Chen was pursued by many female disciples at the same time, he suddenly felt that even if he just learned a little bit, he might have a chance to get rid of being single. After a while, the two of them walked towards the restaurant with arms around each other and laughter. The atmosphere was even more intimate than that of a brother-in-law. How could there be any trace of the relationship between an elder and a disciple? When he arrived at the restaurant, Elder Wang spent a lot of money to buy 2 bottles of the most expensive wine at the price of 200 spirit stones. When the food and wine were served, he blushed and said sheepishly, "Brother Nai-Chen, please tell me about your love experience, so that you can teach me a lesson." "Okay, since Elder Wang wants to hear it, I will tell you everything today." Elder, you can learn a little bit, maybe you can use it in the future. Come on, touch one first. Dry. Gudong dong dong. Tun 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 tun. Actually, love is not as complicated as imagined. Nai Chen began to talk about his love experience with Empress Qingyu. However, Chu Qingyu's identity was not mentioned at all, but was replaced by other names throughout the process. But even so, Elder Wang was completely immersed in these sweet love stories that made people feel like they had eaten countless kilograms of lemons. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 flavors of food, Nai Chen exaggerated a little and talked about the plot of sealing love with a kiss. Elder Wang suddenly lost control and burst into tears. Brother Nai Chen, I finally understand. The reason why I have been single for so many years is not because I am not good enough or handsome enough. But I don't understand what love is at all. Only a love like the Nai Chen brothers can be called true love. In comparison, what I have heard and seen before is just bullshit. I never thought that one day I would hear such a touching story. If you tell such a touching story to the Empress, even the Empress with a frosty heart may be moved by it. With tears in his eyes, Elder Wang drank the spirit wine, which was extremely spiritual. This spiritual wine worth 100 spiritual stones was an extraordinary thing. Even though he had a profound cultivation background, he could not resist the power of this wine. Staggering, I finally drank all the wine, and was so moved that I shed tears. Elder Wang seemed to be particularly willing, looking at Nai Chen drunkenly. By the way, Brother Nai Chen, the story you told is indeed touching. However, until now you haven't mentioned your lover's name. It's fine to keep it a secret from the old man, but can you give her general information? It would also give the old man an idea that he could guess. Nai Chen smiled and said, Elder Wang really wants to guess. Certainly. All right. Nai Chen could only nodded. The first piece of information is that she is just a 600-year-old young girl. 600 years old. The spirit wine was too strong. Elder Wang's mind was in chaos at the moment and he really couldn't think of a suitable partner. Nai Chen continued, the second clue is that she is also in Tianyuan Palace. 600 years old, Tianyuan Palace. He was drunk at first, but when he saw Elder Wang who was about to fall asleep, he suddenly started up. He was half awake from the wine, and his eyes widened in disbelief. You're talking about a woman. Hiss. Nai Chen originally thought that Elder Wang was too drunk to think properly, but unexpectedly, he seemed to have revealed a little too much information. Elder Wang, how do you feel now? Nai Chen interrupted with a kind smile. My head hurts a little, and I'm still half drunk. By the way, what did you just say? Wait. If you don't want to think about it, then don't think about it. Just as Elder Wang was in deep thought in pain, Nai Chen suddenly pulled out a chair leg. Bang. With a little force, he hit the back of Elder Wang's head directly. Nai Chen clapped his hands, the memory erasure technique is completed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 67. Seeing Elder Wang fainted on the table, Nai Chen felt relieved. He was so drunk that he was hit with a stick from his own memory erasure technique. Even if you accidentally recall something when you wake up, it will probably be regarded as a dream at best. However, the most important thing right now is, I didn't expect that the Empress actually celebrated her birthday. It was my wife's birthday, and I went out alone. This is equivalent to sending iced drinks to your girlfriend during her Anta period, booking a hotel room and then studying advanced mathematics by yourself. The problem is quite serious. Looking at the dim sky outside the tavern, the afterglow of the setting sun was already shining down, and it was almost getting dark. Nai-Chen fell into deep thought and quickly thought of ways to save him. Tianyun Palace. Two female disciples knelt at the foot of the steps, their bodies trembling slightly due to the cold temperature and excessive fear. "Are you selling Nai-Chen's portraits and images for money?" Chu Qingyu's majestic voice came, and the two female disciples were immediately frightened to the point of trembling. After discovering that a group of Nai-Chen's fanatic fans suddenly appeared at the foot of Tianyun Palace, Chu Qingyu immediately sent an elder to check. Unexpectedly, the mole who was selling Nai-Chen's portraits and videos was discovered. Especially Mu Xiling, who is kneeling on the left, has outstanding qualifications and may even become the #1 disciple of the deacon in the future, but she actually took the lead in doing such a thing. "Empress, please forgive me, I really didn't mean it." Mu Xiling prostrate on the ground, crying with pear blossoms in the rain. She was well aware of the Empress's temper, and the invisible imperial pressure in the air made her fearful from the bottom of her heart. Mu Xiling tried his best to lower his guilt. Disciples dare to guarantee their Taoist heart and spiritual path. "I definitely didn't want to make money with Brother Nai-Chen's portrait at the beginning. There was also a different reason for spying on Senior Brother Nai-Chen." Chu Qingyu frowned slightly. "What's the reason?" "This disciple definitely doesn't have any unnecessary bad intentions. He is just coveting Senior Brother Nai-Chen's body." Mu Xiling wanted to reduce the matter of revealing the secrets of his fellow students in exchange for money to the point where he was just a lustful person. But for some reason, after she said this, she felt the oppression on the Empress became more and more terrifying. In fact, the air seemed to be filled with a faint murderous intention. Mu Xiling was so frightened that she quickly continued to explain. "Please the Empress to calm down. Although I covet Senior Brother Nai-Chen's body, I only occasionally look at him when he passes by." The disciple didn't see Senior Brother Nai-Chen taking a shower at all. "Didn't see it?" "Yes, Senior Brother Nai-Chen's window was really too small. At that time, several senior sisters were squeezed into the window, blocking it tightly. Even if the disciple wants to see it, there is no gap." Speaking of this, Mu Xiling looked heartbroken and regretful. "Chu Qingyu. Good guy, even though I didn't directly confess my relationship with Nai-Chen, this is really too much. Not only people from other major sects, but also the group of female disciples from Tianyun Palace are thinking about Nai-Chen. If you check carefully, how many potential competitors can you find?" Chu Qingyu gritted her teeth, her looming murderous intent unable to be concealed. "Last question, have you noticed anything when you peeked at Nai-Chen recently?" "I noticed something." Mu Xiling was stunned for a moment and answered truthfully. "Brother Nai-Chen has done almost nothing extra except practicing seriously these days. However, I have often heard Senior Brother Nai mention the Empress to other disciples and elders. It seems that every day, Senior Brother Nai inadvertently mentions the Empress." Hearing these words, Chu Qingyu felt her heart move. It was as if the warm sun was shining down, and the coldness in my heart was instantly dispelled. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on that beautiful cheek, and the warm light made her feel warm in her heart. Sure enough, am I overthinking it? Huh, it's true. I talk about my emperor in front of others all day long, and I'm not afraid of accidentally leaking the secret. Chu Qingyu snorted lightly. Even though she still showed dissatisfaction, there was a warm smile inadvertently at the corner of her mouth. "I know the details of what happened, so you can go down. Remember, there is no chance of a next time, otherwise I will never hesitate to take action." The cold and majestic voice came, and Mu Xiling was immediately stunned. "Empress, you have to forgive yourself." She originally thought that being exempted from being expelled from Tianyun Palace was the greatest gift, but she never expected that the Empress would let her go. "Thank you, Empress, for your forgiveness. Xiling will definitely practice hard in the future to repay the Empress." Mu Xiling kowtowed gratefully on the ground. "That's all, but I still have one more thing I need your help with." Chu Qingyu did not say it directly, but transmitted the message with spiritual power. After a moment, Mu Xiling was stunned. The Empress wants me to pay more attention to the other senior sisters who are greedy for senior brother Nai Chen's body. That's right. Don't worry, Empress, my disciple will definitely hide his identity and complete his mission. Well, let's go down. Thank you, Empress. Not long after, the two female disciples left the hall respectfully. At this moment, the banquet for the coming forces from all sides has been laid out. The Tianyundian mountain is decorated with lanterns and colorful decorations, creating a feeling of joy. The lively atmosphere is far different from the deserted atmosphere of the past. But Chu Qingyu seemed to have no interest in this. She just looked at the dim sky outside, feeling a little empty in her heart. It was an important birthday, but the most important person was missing. No matter how lively it was, she was still not moved at all. But at this moment, a figure floated into the Tianyun palace. With his back to the setting sun, the golden afterglow sprinkled on his back, making the figure look radiant, as if bathing in holy light. Chu Qingyu's pupils shrank slightly. Nai Chen? Why are you back? Of course I have to rush back for my wife's birthday. No matter how big the matter is, it's not as important as this. Nai Chen smiled and gently took Chu Qingyu's hand. Huh, you left early in the morning, it doesn't look like you want to celebrate my birthday, you clearly want to escape. Chu Qingyu wanted to pull her hand back in anger. But Nai Chen held her soft jade hand tightly. Come with me, I have prepared a birthday gift for tonight. Birthday gift? Even if you are willing to prepare it, the banquet will be held soon, and I don't have time to get away. Chu Qingyu pouted her cherry lips and refused. What's good to eat at the banquet? Besides, if you, the queen, stand them up, who dares to say no? Trust me, get in the car. Nai Chen took Chu Qingyu's hand and flew down the mountain of Tianyun Palace. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 68. The two of them rode the wind and happened to meet the drunken elder Wang. He was poured 2 full pots of rich and valuable spiritual wine, and received another blow from Nai Chen. At this moment, Elder Wang only felt that his head hurt, his neck was sore, and his whole body felt groggy. Nai Chen, why are you here? Seeing Nai Chen, Elder Wang asked in a daze. But just after he asked, he turned his head inadvertently and suddenly caught a glimpse of Empress Qingyu not far behind Nai Chen. Suddenly, Elder Wang was so frightened that he was half awake from the wine. Female, Empress, why are you here? The Empress is leaving Tianyun Palace to deal with some important matters, and I want to accompany her there. Elder Wang doesn't need to mind. He can go back and tell the guests that they can go back to their homes after the banquet. Nai Chen patted him lightly. But after all, seeing Nai Chen and the Empress walking together, Yu Feng, who was very close, left. Elder Wang froze on the spot, feeling that his brain was not working well enough. Although it is okay for the Empress to have a slightly different attitude towards Nai Chen than ordinary disciples, why does the relationship between the two always feel weird? The figures of Nai Chen and the Empress appeared in his mind at the same time. For a moment, Elder Wang suddenly felt that the two of them were quite a match. What a great being the Empress is, how dare I have such rebellious thoughts? After shaking his head vigorously, Elder Wang finally came back to his senses and slapped himself hard on the face, quickly trying to get rid of this extremely absurd idea. On the hillside outside Kanghan City, a gust of evening breeze blew by, and the flowers and plants swayed gently in the wind. Watching the sky getting dark and darkness gradually engulfing the sky, Chu Qingyu asked curiously. Didn't you say you wanted to take me on a date for my birthday? Why have you been sitting here for so long? Because I've been waiting for this moment. Nai Chen smiled slightly and stood up. Holding Nirvana in his hand, he suddenly slashed towards the sky with his sword. In an instant, endless fire rose from the nirvana. Amid the scorching red flames, a high-pitched phoenix cry echoed in the air. The raging fire continued to gather and gradually condensed into the shape of a phoenix. Flames all over, 3 golden crowns. The flaming phoenix soared, looking sacred and majestic. Amid the cry, a faint sense of oppression like a raging giant beast surged in all directions. Phoenix bathes in fire, auspicious to the world. As a divine bird, all spells and auras related to the phoenix are extremely difficult to control and extremely precious. This sense of oppression, have you repaired nirvana? This time, even Chu Qingyu was slightly surprised. The nirvana sword is a heaven-level magic weapon. It was originally damaged by myself, and the phoenix sword spirit in it was on the verge of collapse. Even she couldn't find a way to repair it. How did Nai Chen do it? Nothing is difficult in the world. For your wife, aren't these just basic operations? Nai Chen smiled slightly. The night sky, the breeze, the flowers and plants, the phoenix flying in the sky, and Nai Chen beside me. Looking at the scenes around her, Chu Qingyu's eyes were in a daze inadvertently. At this moment, the flame phoenix screamed loudly again, and slowly landed next to the two of them under Nai Chen's control. Is this what you want? Puff. Chu Qingyu finally couldn't help laughing. The phoenix is regarded as a sacred bird by countless people and is worshipped and worshipped. As a result, you actually used the fire phoenix as a mount. The graceful body sat on Phoenix's neck, and Nai Chen also sat behind Chu Qingyu. Using the excuse of grabbing the phoenix feathers, Nai Chen naturally wrapped his arms around the soft waist. The two of them were so close that Chu Qingyu could even feel the residual warmth coming from Nai Chen's chest. Especially the arm around his waist, which was always rubbing quietly and dishonestly. Chu Qingyu glanced at Nai Chen resentfully. You let me sit up, don't you just want to take advantage of me? Of course not. Nai Chen pulled Ling Yu slightly hard. Suddenly, the phoenix covered in fire spread its wings and flew high. In the dark night, the earth was pitch black, and even the stars seemed to be swallowed up by the late night. But the blazing flames swayed by the fire phoenix looked particularly dazzling and bright in the sky. The breeze blew by, feeling the lingering warmth from behind. Chu Qingyu's eyes moved. Having been emperor for so long, she has already crossed countless mountains and rivers and enjoyed the beautiful scenery all over the world. But this feeling and the scene were deeply engraved in her heart and could not be dispelled. At this moment, Nai Chen suddenly said, "Look below." The fire phoenix had just flown over Kanghan City where the two had their first date. In an instant, the originally dark city was suddenly illuminated by lights. The lights are bright and colorful. The blurred colorful light illuminated the entire city beautifully, blooming like a flower. Fire phoenixes soared in the sky, and thousands of lights lit up the earth. This situation and the scene are so beautiful. Happy birthday, wife. At this time, Nai Chen's voice came from his ears. After coming back from the trance, Chu Qingyu's ears turned completely red in an instant. Is this the birthday present you prepared? Yes, how do you feel? Humph, it's just so-so. It's just some fancy lights, I won't be impressed so easily. Chu Qingyu snorted lightly, as if trying her best to act indifferent. But the color shining in her eyes was completely inconsistent with what she said. However, how did you get the lights of the entire Kanghan city to light up at the same time? Chu Qingyu asked curiously. Nai Chen, it's very simple. I told all the people in the city that the empress and I are going to get married today. If you don't want to die, wait for me to come and light the lights. You're so talkative. Chu Qingyu pinched Nai Chen lightly. But this time, the method was obviously much gentler. Nai Chen smiled and had to tell the truth. In fact, I told the city lord in advance that a divine phoenix will come here tonight. If you want the divine phoenix to bring down auspicious signs, you need to wait for the divine phoenix to fly over to light up the lights and hold a grand ceremony. That's it? Chu Qingyu nodded. Under the moonlight, she turned her head and looked at Nai Chen. Unconsciously, her eyes moved slightly. Under the illumination of the bustling lights, Chu Qingyu's thoughts were hazy, and her soft lips unconsciously moved towards Nai Chen. Nai Chen also slowly moved closer. Wait. Seeing that their lips were only a finger's distance away, Nai Chen suddenly interrupted. What's wrong? Chu Qingyu was slightly stunned. Nai Chen looked around vigilantly and said. I found a problem. Whenever the Empress and I are ready to kiss, the Frost Saint envoy will appear from everywhere. We must observe the situation first. After seriously looking around for a while, Nai Chen finally nodded after making sure that it was absolutely foolproof. Well, she should not be here. Come on, wife, continue kissing. Chu Qingyu blushed and pushed Nai Chen away, feeling ashamed and angry. Idiot. You ruined the atmosphere. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 69. In Kanghan City, the lights are bright, and there is an extremely lively and festive atmosphere. The divine bird phoenix has really arrived. The city lord is right. According to the city lord, as long as we light up the lights at the moment the phoenix arrives. In this way, Kanghan City will always be blessed by the divine bird. That is the blessing of the phoenix. With great excitement, the bustle in Kanghan City is even better than any other festival. The people on the street are all very happy and congratulate each other. The street is full of people coming and going, and it is full of stalls and all kinds of delicacies. In front of a candy stall, Nai Chen stopped. This candy stall is different from others. Customers can choose to make the shape of the candy themselves. For most ordinary people, the candy they make themselves is mostly crooked and can't be shaped at all. But for cultivators, as long as they use spiritual energy to control it, it is not a problem at all. Nai Chen seemed quite interested. Wife, how about we buy a sugar man and try it out? You are so old, not a child. Wait, this sugar man can actually adjust its shape by itself. Just halfway through, Chu Qingyu's eyes seemed to light up instantly. Gently picking up the spoon filled with sugar, Chu Qingyu turned her back and covered it tightly. Nai Chen smiled and said, Wife, what shape are you going to make it? I'm not interested in talking about it. Chu Qingyu snorted and covered it more tightly. By the way, what shape are you going to make it? But soon, she quietly looked in the direction of Nai Chen. Nai Chen smiled, I won't say it either. Humph. Slowly infusing spiritual energy, in the astonished eyes of the onlookers, the two sugar men quickly condensed into shape and gradually solidified. Turning around, Chu Qingyu carried the sugar man behind her back and covered it tightly. But she found that Nai Chen actually covered the sugar man tightly. Nai Chen said, how about we take turns eating the sugar figures? Take turns. That's right, I'll count to 3, 2, 1, and then take them out together. Okay, but actually, this emperor has no other intention in making this sugar figure. Don't get me wrong after you finish reading it. Nai Chen nodded. 3, 2, 1. The two sugar figures appeared under the light at the same time. Nai Chen was slightly stunned, and Chu Qingyu's eyes were completely frozen. Because the sugar figures condensed by the two people all look like each other. Especially the small sugar figure that Nai Chen carefully controlled and meticulously carved, almost completely restored Chu Qingyu's noble, cold, and flawless appearance and temperament. The only thing that made Chu Qingyu curious was the small string of words on the top of the sugar figure that she had never seen before. What is this? Chu Qingyu asked in confusion. This is pronounced Elowu, which is a word I learned in a small barbarian country. The specific meaning is, I like you. I knew you were going to do something. Chu Qingyu turned her head. Under the light, her face, which was as white as snow, had a faint blush. "Come on, wife, eat it, it's very sweet." Nai-chan brought the candy man to her. "Humph, you should eat your own." Chu Qingyu turned around and bit off half of Nai-chan. The taste was sweet in the mouth and mellow in the aftertaste. But when she looked back at Nai-chan, she found that Nai-chan had floated the candy man in his hand in the air without eating a single bite. Chu Qingyu asked, "What are you doing?" Nai-chan smiled and said, "I can't help it. I'm afraid that the candy man in the shape of my wife will fall if I hold it in my hand, and I'm afraid that it will melt if I hold it in my mouth. I really can't bear to eat it." You. Suddenly, Chu Qingyu's cheeks became redder and hotter. She stepped forward and snatched the candy man from Nai-chan's hand, and put it in the space ring. "Nai-chan, wife, I haven't eaten it yet." "No, I won't let you eat it." "Why, does the Empress want to take it as a souvenir?" "A little dot." "Wife, your tongue is so beautiful." The two walked one after the other on the bustling street, and after a while, they walked side by side again. When they came to the busiest intersection, Nai-chan suddenly stopped, gently held Chu Qingyu's hand, and smiled. "Actually, I have another gift today." "And, what?" Chu Qingyu's soft and boneless palm was held, and surprisingly, she did not resist this time. There seemed to be a hint of expectation on her face, which was as plain and noble as ever. "That's it?" Nai-chan looked up at the sky. At the same time, the cry of the phoenix sounded again. This sound was much louder and more sacred than before, and it instantly spread throughout Kanghan City. As the fire phoenix bathed in flames flew down from the sky, the people in the whole city immediately became excited. The divine bird phoenix. The phoenix really flew towards us. A great sign, this is really a blessing from heaven. The direction where the phoenix landed seems to be in the center of Denhong Street, go and have a look. The people in the whole city all moved. The vendors left their stalls, and the sleepers got up from their beds. Even the couples who were making babies late at night put away their swords and guns, and hurriedly followed the crowd to the center of Kanghan City. Huh! A wave of extremely hot heat swept around, and many people stared at the incredible and sacred scene in front of them with wide eyes. Flames all over the body, 3 golden crowns. Just as the myth said, this is really the auspicious bird phoenix. What do you want to do? Suddenly realizing that Nai-chan's other hand touched her knee, Chu Qingyu showed a trace of panic. Nai-chan smiled, "The Empress hugged me like a princess in Kanghan City last time, I must give it back, right?" After saying that, he exerted a little force and hugged Empress Qingyu in his arms in a princess hug. With a leap, Nai-chan sat directly on the back of the fire phoenix. Accompanied by the sound of the phoenix, the vortex of flames rose up, and the fire phoenix spread its wings and flew high. Many people looked at the unimaginable scene in front of them with astonishment. The divine bird phoenix was used as a mount, and the two people sitting on it looked at each other. The lips slowly pressed together and finally overlapped. A couple of gods, these two people must be gods from heaven. Definitely. If they were ordinary people, even cultivators, they would not have such stunning looks. It turned out that a couple of gods came to Kanghan City on a fire phoenix. This is a great auspicious sign. Our Kanghan City is prosperous after all. The people in Kanghan City looked up at the sky. They were all envious and exclaimed in surprise. But in Tianyuan Palace, Shen Kongshuang suddenly woke up from her dream. She looked at the bright moonlight outside with a little doubt. She always felt that she seemed to be absent from some extremely important scene. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 70. Crossing mountains and rivers, The red flame seemed to burn in the sky. Near the Tianyun Palace. After an unknown amount of time, the overlapping lips slowly parted. The fire phoenix fell and stopped on the ground. Chu Qingyu blushed, feeling a little ashamed and angry. There were so many people in the city just now. How dare you? Don't worry, no one in the town where mortals live will recognize the Empress. Besides, these people must have regarded you as a fairy, so how could they think of other things? Slippery tongue. Although on the surface, Chu Qingyu seemed to be very disdainful of Nai Chen's flattery, her very lovely anger slowly dissipated. Because she left too openly, with a hint of blush, Chu Qingyu flew back to the Tianyun Palace alone. The first thing she did when she came back was to take the sugar man made by Nai Chen and go to King Han Palace. King Han Palace was full of cold air, and it was originally a place to store extremely precious things. In the entire Tianyun Palace, only a very few treasures are qualified to be hidden in it. This place is full of various restrictions and strict defenses. Unless the Tianyun Palace is lost, no one can take away the treasures. The supreme elder guarding here is Elder Wang. Seeing the return of the Empress, Elder Wang quickly lifted the restrictions and opened the door of King Han Palace. The fog was everywhere. When he clearly saw the Empress carefully placing a sugar man in the corner with the strongest formation restrictions, Elder Wang was stunned. The appearance of the sugar man seemed to be the Empress. No, it can't be a sugar man. Elder Wang immediately dispelled this speculation and even felt ridiculous for his previous thoughts. How could a mere sugar man attract the attention of the Empress? Something that can make the Empress so cherished must be a magic weapon that is enough to shock the world. And the appearance of the sugar man on the surface is to conceal its truly terrifying value. This sugar man is probably a treasure far beyond his imagination. Taking another look at the sugar man, Elder Wang became more determined in his thoughts. He could not sense any breath from the sugar man. Ordinary magic weapons, no matter how well they were covered, would emit a trace of spiritual energy. But he could not sense any from the sugar man. I am afraid that the Empress must have set up countless formations and prohibitions to suppress the magnificent spiritual energy of the sugar man. Elder Wang was a little embarrassed, and his respect for the Empress deepened. No wonder the Empress suddenly left Tianyun Palace with Nai Chen. It turned out that such a treasure was found in such a short time. It is really amazing, admirable, and makes people feel infinite respect. It is really hard to talk about hiding a sugar man in King Han Palace. After leaving King Han Palace, Chu Qingyu glanced at Elder Wang and coughed slightly with embarrassment. Elder Wang, have all the guests who came to the banquet been dismissed? Elder Wang quickly replied, reporting to the Queen, they have been asked to leave. All sects and forces respect the Queen's orders, and no one dares to disobey. Yes. Chu Qingyu nodded, noting that there was no one around, and suddenly lowered her voice a little embarrassedly. Elder Wang, remember to keep the fact that I put the sugar man in King Han Palace a secret, and don't tell anyone. Yes, Queen, don't worry, even if I die, I will definitely keep this matter a secret and will never leak it out. Elder Wang bent down with great respect. The Queen actually personally reminded him of this matter. Elder Wang further confirmed his previous thoughts. This seemingly ordinary sugar man must have secrets and values that even he can't touch. Watching the Empress gradually go away, Elder Wang reset the ban and cast several spells himself, and finally felt relieved. At this moment, he suddenly saw Nai Chen coming from a distance. Elder Wang was about to say hello, but found that Nai Chen seemed to be holding something in his hand. That is. When Nai Chen walked in front of him, Elder Wang's pupils suddenly shrank, and he looked at the object in front of him in disbelief. What Nai Chen was holding in his hand was a sugar man that was exactly the same as the Empress. Nai Chen, what is in your hand? Sugar man, what's wrong? Nai Chen licked the sugar man in his hand with satisfaction. He felt that it was fortunate that he was quick and secretly made another one. Otherwise, there would be nothing to eat today. Seeing Nai Chen licking the sugar man, Elder Wang was almost scared silly. Isn't this a treasure that the Empress cherishes very much? How dare he? More importantly, the shape of this sugar man is exactly the same as the Empress. If the Empress saw Nai Chen licking the candy man, he might be killed. There were too many factors, and Elder Wang was completely frightened. He quickly stopped Nai Chen with a dark face. Brother Nai Chen, if you still want to live, you must put the candy man away quickly. Otherwise, no one can save you. I just licked my wife. Oh, forget it. Nai Chen thought about it, gave up explaining, and temporarily put away the candy man. After calming down for a long time, Elder Wang barely recovered from the shock and fear. He sighed and asked, Brother Nai Chen, what did you and the Empress do just now? Why did I see that the Empress seemed to be carrying a treasure and her expression was a little strange? This. Nai Chen hesitated for a moment, and immediately revealed a trace of seriousness. Elder Wang doesn't know, what happened just now was really a life or death situation, extremely dangerous. What on earth did you encounter? Hearing this, Elder Wang's face changed. How terrifying is the strength of the Empress, what kind of existence can make the Empress face a crisis? It's far more terrifying than Elder Wang imagined. The Empress and I met two giant snakes on this trip. The two snakes are extremely powerful, and they wrestled with each other. They almost turned the two canyons upside down, and the surging water almost surged out. With my strength, I didn't dare to approach them at all. Later, it was the Empress who took action to barely subdue them. Prevent these two giant snakes from escaping from the canyon and causing chaos to the people of the world. I didn't expect that the Empress would do such a great thing in a short period of time. Elder Wang was deeply moved, and his respect for the Qingyu Empress became deeper and deeper. After thinking for a while, he asked with some fear. But what kind of monsters are those two snakes? Is it the colorful seven-colored sky-swallowing python, or the scarlet-red demon flame python? Neither. Nai Chen shook his head, both pythons are light pink, and as for their species, I have never seen them before. Elder Wang took a breath of cold air, and his heart became more and more horrified. It seems that the Queen subdued a rare and extremely powerful new monster. This great achievement is really shocking. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 71. After looking up at the sky with reverence for a while, Elder Wang came back to his senses. After most of the wine, he took out an exquisite invitation with a pattern from his sleeve and handed it to Nai Chen. By the way, the Flower Holy Land will hold a grand ceremony in 2 days. At that time, all the forces that have contact with the Holy Land of Flowers will bring their outstanding disciples to participate. Take this invitation and go with the Empress when the time comes. Nai Chen asked, the Empress will also go? Yes, the Holy Land of Flowers has a long heritage. The most important thing is that the Holy Lady of Flowers and the Empress have always had a good relationship. At this time, the grand ceremony may also gather many powerful sects, holy places, and other forces. You and a few others represent Tianyun Palace, so you must not lose face. Don't worry, wherever there is an Empress, I will be there. Nai Chen took the invitation. Well, I'm very worried about you. Elder Wang nodded, but soon gave a serious warning. However, I always feel that you are relatively close to the Empress recently. Although the Empress's attitude towards you is indeed different from that of other disciples, you must also be careful not to push yourself too far. Especially the thrilling incident of the battle between two snakes yesterday, please remember to tell me carefully when you have time. Nai Chen immediately shook his head, we must not talk about that matter in detail. Elder Wang, why? If I go into more detail, I will be sealed. In the past 2 days, the outer gate of Tianyun Palace has received a dozen new disciples. Few people know that these dozen new disciples are all from the Netherworld sect. After the Nether sect surrendered, its loyalty was confirmed after a period of investigation. The elders carefully screened the sect and selected several disciples with excellent conduct and qualifications, allowing them to temporarily become the temporary outer sect disciples of Tianyun Palace. Among them was K-Ruling, who had outstanding qualifications in the Netherworld sect. No one expected that K-Ruling, who had only been here for a few days, would quickly get along with the female disciples from the outer sect of Tianyun Palace by virtue of her cute and honest personality. In the wing where the female disciple lives. After drawing the curtains and closing the door tightly, a group of female disciples headed by Mu Xiling gathered together. After observing the surroundings vigilantly for a moment, she finally unlocked the various layers of protective formations in a hole in the wall, and took out a scroll from it. Ruling, the senior sisters will show you some good things today. There was a hint of subtlety in Mu Xiling's smile, and the other female disciples also had different expressions. Some are shy and some are nervous, but they all share a common emotion, anticipation. What kind of healthy thing is it? K-Ruling also had unconcealed curiosity in her eyes. Although they have not been here for a long time, these senior sisters treat themselves very well. Now, calling myself here so solemnly and mysteriously, I am afraid that there must be something extremely precious hidden in this scroll. You'll know it once you've seen it. Gently scrubbing the scroll in his hand, Mu Xiling's eyes were gentle and full of affection. Even, there is a somewhat obvious sense of confusion. As the scroll slowly opened, all the female disciples in the room stared at the scroll intently. His palms were clenched tightly, his nails digging into his palms, and a stream of sweat dripped down his forehead inadvertently. Everyone's eyes seemed to be blooming with light. Finally, the complete content of the scroll appeared in front of everyone. Senior brother Nai Chen is so handsome. Ah, I'm dead, senior brother Nai is so handsome. This painting should only exist in heaven, how many times can we see it on earth? I really want to marry senior brother Nai. In an instant, a burst of nymphomaniacal shouts erupted in the wing. All the female disciples, including Mu Xiling, were jumping up and down with excitement. Looking at K-Ruling's dazed expression, Mu Xiling smiled and said, "Ruling, you have just arrived at Tianyun Palace not long ago, so you probably haven't met senior brother Nai yet. Don't be too embarrassed. Senior brother Nai Chen is so handsome. It's normal for you to be so obsessed with him that you can't speak." "No, I know senior brother Nai." K-Ruling shook her head. "Do you know senior brother Nai?" Mu Xiling smiled, "Actually, we are the same. We all know senior brother Nai, but senior brother Nai doesn't know us." K-Ruling shook her head again, "Senior brother Nai also knows me, and..." She paused for a moment, looked at the other female disciples in the room, and sighed. "Senior sisters, you are all very kind, and you are even willing to show me senior brother Nai's portrait. But I still can't deceive you. Sorry, senior sisters. In fact, senior brother Nai, you like me, so you probably have no chance." Mu Xiling was stunned for a moment, with an awkward smile on her lips. "Ruling, are you kidding? You don't even know senior brother Nai, so how can senior brother Nai like you? Besides, that was senior brother Nai. Since brother Nai started, I have never heard of any scandal between him and any female disciple. He is also a gentleman, and never flirts with women, how could it be possible?" Senior brother Nai touched my head gently. K-Ruling's words made the others pause for a moment. I saw K-Ruling gently touching the top of her head with satisfaction. Senior brother Nai touched my head more than once, and he was more gentle every time. Not only that, senior brother Nai also taught me how to practice alone twice in a row. He also repeatedly hinted to me that as long as I practice hard, I will be qualified to be with him one day. Whether it's expressions, words, or other things that happen. Senior brother Nai kept hinting, and even, explicitly hinted at me. I think senior brother has expressed his thoughts very clearly. K. Ruling's smile became brighter. Since the last time Brother Nai touched my head, I have only used spiritual energy to clean the dust from my hair every day, and I have not washed my hair even once. In this way, Brother Nai's scent is always on my head. At this moment, all the female disciples were stunned. From K. Ruling's words and demeanor, they clearly felt that this matter was definitely not false. Senior brother Nai Chen actually has a secret crush on junior sister Ruoling, and even keeps hinting it time and time again. Junior sister Ruoling, you are so happy. Woohoo, although I still don't want to give up on senior brother Nai, but don't worry, junior sister, I will definitely support you with all my strength. It's so touching. Mu Xiling stepped forward and gently grabbed K. Ruling's shoulders. She was moved by this love story with tears in her eyes. However, junior sister Ruling and senior brother Nai showed their great power in the tomb of the three emperors, and it was widely spread. Nowadays, there are countless people eager to pursue brother Nai. Aren't you anxious? Of course, senior brother Nai has hinted at me many times, but he is just too embarrassed to say it out loud. How can other women be taken into consideration by senior brother Nai? K. Ruling put her hands on her hips slightly proudly. Junior sister, woohoo. Mu Xiling was so moved that she solemnly said, Junior sister, don't worry, leave it to me to urge senior brother Nai to confess to you.